Have you ever felt like the smarter you get, the lonelier you become? Like every new realization adds distance between you and everyone else? You're not imagining it. Society has always had a strange relationship with deep thinkers. Not because they're wrong, but because they refuse to stay comfortable. From Confucius to Camus, the ones who asked the hardest questions were met with silence, exile, even hate. Not because of how they spoke, but because of what they revealed. Truth threatens comfort, and the people who seek it, they become threats too. Deep thinkers aren't seen as helpful. They're seen as disruptive. Not because they're trying to be, but because they shine a light in places most people would rather keep dark. But why? Why does society get so uncomfortable around deep thinkers? To find out, we have to go deeper. Not into history books, but into the psychology of the human brain. Part 1. The social cost of thinking differently. Imagine standing next to someone physically stronger than you. You might admire them, maybe even ask for workout tips. Stand next to someone who's wealthy. Sure, you might feel a little envious, but you don't feel attacked. Now try standing next to someone who sees the world on a level you haven't even considered. Someone who questions things you didn't even know were up for debate. Someone who doesn't just think outside the box. They're 3 dimensions past it. That's when things get weird. They don't have to say anything controversial. Sometimes they don't say anything at all, but their presence, it presses on people, like an invisible weight in the room. Why? Because intelligence, real, probing, unsettling intelligence, isn't decorative. It's disruptive. It doesn't flatter. It exposes. Psychologists call this the mirror effect. Deep thinkers don't just introduce new ideas. They reflect back the ones people are trying to hide from themselves. And that's uncomfortable. Most people can handle being outlifted, out-earned, even outshined, but being out-thought, that cuts to the core. Because it doesn't just challenge your status, it challenges your sense of self. And there's no easy comeback for that. Part 2. Why intelligence feels like a threat. Unlike muscles or money, intelligence isn't something external. It's not something you can point to or show off in a selfie. It's internal, personal, woven directly into how we see ourselves. You don't just think thoughts. You are your thoughts. So when someone questions your beliefs, challenges your worldview, or pokes holes in your assumptions, they're not just disagreeing with you. They're chipping away at your identity. That's why people can laugh off a billionaire, admire a beauty icon, or cheer for an Olympic gold medalist, but feel deeply uneasy around a quiet philosopher at a dinner table. Because disruptive intelligence doesn't just impress, it unsettles. It makes people second-guess the foundation they've built their lives on. And when people feel insecure, they don't lean in, they push back. Not because the thinker is wrong, but because the truth feels too close. Part 3. Tribal brains in a modern world. Here's something wild. Our brains haven't evolved nearly as fast as our technology. Thousands of years ago, the greatest threat to survival wasn't a wild animal or a thunderstorm. It was rejection. Getting kicked out of the tribe didn't just hurt your feelings, it got you killed. So our ancestors adapted. They learned to value group harmony over individual insight. Fitting in meant safety. Standing out meant danger. Now fast forward to today. A deep thinker walks into a meeting, a classroom, or a social hangout and questions the dominant narrative. And what happens? The group doesn't think, interesting perspective. They think, this person's rocking the boat. It's not even conscious. It's instinct. Even in so-called rational spaces, offices, universities, public forums, people will subconsciously protect comfort and consensus over complexity and truth, because deep thinking still triggers the oldest fear in the book. Exile. Part 4. The Psychology of Rejection. Science backs this up. When someone feels intellectually outmatched, their brain activates the amygdala, the part responsible for detecting fear and threats. This isn't just social discomfort. It's a primal response. To the brain, a person who challenges your beliefs isn't just annoying, they're dangerous. Add to that our cognitive biases. Confirmation bias. We seek info that agrees with us. Groupthink. We value harmony over truth. The backfire effect. We double down when proven wrong. Put it all together, and you've got a mental cocktail that favors comfort over clarity. Deep thinkers don't just stir the pot, they're seen as the pot tippers. And in a world built on fragile egos and curated identities, they become targets. Not because they're wrong, but because they make others confront truths they're not ready for. Part 5. Shallow certainty versus deep uncertainty. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Society doesn't reward the wisest voice. It rewards the loudest. Confidence, not accuracy, is what grabs attention, especially when it's wrapped in bold claims, quick takes, and zero nuance. That's why the internet is full of influencers who speak with unshakable certainty, even when what they're saying barely scratches the surface. Meanwhile, the quiet thinkers, the ones who question, explore, and leave room for complexity, get buried in the feed. Charisma trumps depth. Feelings override facts. And the simpler the message, the stronger the spotlight. In the age of algorithms, the person who says, "Let's think about this carefully," gets passed over. But the one who declares, "Here's the answer," even if it's dead wrong, gets the clicks, the likes, and the platform. Why? Because most people don't want nuance. They want certainty, tidy, fast, and easy to digest. That's the paradox. The deeper your thoughts, the harder they are to package. And in a world addicted to speed, depth becomes a disadvantage. Part 6. Institutions are not designed for thinkers. It's not just individuals who reject deep thinking. It's entire systems. Schools say they champion critical thought. But what do they actually reward? Memorization, obedience, test-taking. Question too much and you're labeled a problem student. Workplaces love buzzwords like innovation and disruption until you actually challenge the way things are done. Then you're seen as difficult, not visionary. Politics. Forget it. Leaders don't get elected for telling the hard truth. They get elected for repeating comfortable lies. The boldest ideas rarely win votes. They win resistance. These institutions aren't built for originality. They're built for efficiency, hierarchy, and control. And deep thinkers, they don't fit cleanly into any of those boxes. That's why so many visionaries are ignored, silenced, or dismissed while they're alive, only to be celebrated years later when their ideas are no longer threatening. By then, society isn't honoring the thinker, it's just catching up. Part 7. Lessons from the Outcasts. Look back through history. The names we revere today, Socrates, Hypatia, Kierkegaard, Turing, they weren't honored during their lifetimes. They were mocked, silenced, imprisoned, exiled, even executed. Why? Because they told people things they weren't ready to hear. Because they questioned systems that didn't want to be questioned. Because they saw truths others were still trying to avoid. And because they were right too soon. The world often treats deep thinkers like a problem to be fixed, not a gift to be understood. But history has a pattern. The minds that are rejected in one generation become the legends of the next. So if you feel out of sync with the present, it might just mean you're aligned with the future. Part 8. How deep thinkers can survive and thrive. So, what do you do if you think deeply in a world that prefers comfort over truth? First, stop chasing mass approval. You're not here to entertain the crowd. You're here to see clearly. Clarity over clout. Second, choose your settings. Not every room deserves your voice. Protect your energy. Pick your moments. Speak where your words can land. Third, find your people. It only takes one real connection to change everything, whether it's a friend, a mentor, or an online space. Find those who get it. You're not alone, even if it feels that way. Fourth, master the art of translation. Speak in a way that invites curiosity, not confusion. As Einstein said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. Speak deeply, but speak clearly. The goal isn't to sound smart, it's to spark thought. Before you go, give me 30 seconds to wrap up. Remember, you're not broken for seeing what others miss. You're not arrogant for asking deeper questions. And you're definitely not alone. You're just living in a world that hasn't caught up yet. But keep going, because the future, it's always built by the ones who were misunderstood in the present. If this spoke to you, drop a comment below. Have you ever felt out of place for thinking too deeply? Let's start a real conversation. And if you are one of the deep thinkers we have been discussing, then you must watch our videos on how Stoicism can help you be confident in your differences. So hit that subscribe button and then click the next video, because we're just getting started.